Collier's exit sparks midfield move from Manchester United potentially. What is the latest on Collier? His exit is low move. Manchester United might not be having PSR troubles if they're facilitating low moves. They want to sign a midfielder, striker and goalkeeper before the end of the window. And talks have officially opened for Sesko. Manchester United are officially making their move, and Sesko prefers Manchester United to Newcastle. But is he willing to wait for Manchester United? Newcastle can pay the financial package now. I'm going to give you the latest on Sesko because this is information confirmed by Romano. I thought that we were being used to get a bit by Leipzig to get a bigger bid out of Newcastle. Maybe we're not being used by Leipzig. Maybe we're in for Sesko. We're going to talk about that because it looks like United are making moves. Updates on Garnacho's exit. Chelsea still want the player. Considering Garnacho has made it clear he only wants a Premier League move and has sort of rejected clubs outside the Premier League, maybe he has some confidence that Chelsea are going to make that late move for him. I've always felt that Garnacho must surely have been tapped up somewhere and given some confidence he was going to go because he's making it clear he wants the Premier League. What is the latest on Anthony's exit? Romano gives some updates on that and more. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another Manchester United 10-minute news show. I was going to be live, but I don't have enough time. I'm out and about today, so do apologise for no live streams today, but we're going to get into all the news in the next 10 minutes for you guys. But feel free to hit that like button if you do enjoy today's video, and subscribe down below if you're new. Let's get into it. United's intention to facilitate a loan move for Collier is expected to clear the pathway for a midfield signing. This was said by Samuel Lutkers. So, Toby Collyer, let's have a quick conversation about him. We do want to get into the Sesko news without dragging this video on. I like Toby Collyer, big fan of Toby Collyer. He came on in some big games last season and was impressive. The Arsenal game was a standout of that. He's got the legs and the physical abilities that Ruben Amorim will like. I think there's a good player there. What I don't like about Toby Collyer, and not his fault, Amorim's fault, is how he's recently been misprofiled and Amorim's played him at 10 the last couple cameos he's got. Toby Collyer came in, had a few opportunities under Amorim, looked really good, got injured, got a few opportunities at the end of the season, out of position, not many opportunities. And I think it's right to loan out Collier. I think if we were in Europe, we'd need Collier for the legs and the depth. But I think it's right to loan out Collier, see how he does, get his value up. Potentially we can make money for him or bring him back when he's more ready. I like Collier, good player there. I think it's a good move. United willing to loan out so many players is a suggestion that maybe PSR isn't too big of an issue. Maybe we don't need as many sales as we make out we do. Because apparently this Collier loan is expected to clear the pathway for us to bring a midfielder in, even though Collier is not on much wages. So him going on loan doesn't exactly bring in loads of money. Let me know your thoughts down below. I like Collier, but I think, again, not being in Europe next season, we've got Agate, Maino, Bruno, Casemiro that can all cover the pivot positions, and we do want a new person to come in, which would make Collier sixth choice if he stayed. I do think a loan move for Collier is smart. But with Eriksen and Collier going, we definitely need another midfielder in there for depth. Let's hope it's the right loan move. So, what's coming out on Sesko? So first of all, we've been linked to Sesko a lot over the last week. A lot of links about Man United and Sesko. Newcastle very advanced. Newcastle trying to get Sesko to agree personal terms so they can make their move. Newcastle have got the money lined up. They're ready to make their move for Benjamin Sesko. However, Benjamin Sesko reportedly prefers United. United are there. They haven't made any decisions on what striker they're going to go for, but they're looking at Sesko amid pressure that Newcastle wants to make their move. Now, Florian Plettenberg said today, after many reports over the last few days from credible sources for United's interest in Sesko, Florian Plettenberg has said today that Manchester United and Newcastle are in talks with Benjamin Sesko, presenting their project and final offers. Newcastle is making a strong push. The next step depends on the player and his camp. So first of all, you might be asking, Alice, why is this story significant? Why is this first story significant? Well, Manchester United are now officially in talks with Benjamin Sesko. We've been discussing it, and we were going to make a decision. We've now made talks. We've now made advancement. Now, Manchester United can't buy Benjamin Sesko right now. We can't because we don't have the money to buy him. So I don't know where this 60 million is coming from. Maybe we're trying to get him to agree to join us. We sell a player, then we make a move for him and make him wait 3 weeks, whereas Newcastle can get the deal done tomorrow. That might give Newcastle an advantage. But United are very much making the moves on Sesko. But Newcastle pushing strong. Now, United's alternative to Sesko is Watkins. Villa don't want to sell. Nicholas Jackson, Chelsea overpricing. United obviously would like Sesko. They've had long-term interest in him. It could be one to watch. But Newcastle making a strong push. Newcastle ready to pay up now. And I think Newcastle's a better move for Sesko. Like, I like Sesko, don't get me wrong, good player. I think he would improve Manchester United. I think he'd be good, but I do worry about him being another Højlund. I do worry about how young he is. I do think Newcastle could be a better move for Sesko on paper, and I wish that United would spend 60 million, 60, 70 million on Baleba rather than Sesko. But I also think Sesko could be the next Zlatan Ibrahimovic with his jumping and Mbumo's crossing. It could work well. And look, if we sign Sesko, I'm happy. But if we don't sign Sesko, I'm not too bothered, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, because I think there's other options we need to spend our money on. Continuing on onto what was said by Romano on Benjamin Sesko. Manchester United approached Sesko's camp to ask for a deal conditions. Newcastle presented their project to him last week, ready to bid if he accepts. So Newcastle were a good week and a bit ahead of us. They presented the project. They're now waiting on an answer from Sesko. They want him. They're ready to pay up. They're now waiting on an answer. United now have decided they're making an approach for Sesko. They've officially made an approach and they're asking for conditions. Now, I don't know if we can even make a bid for Sesko until we sell anyone. But United have made an official move, an official approach for Sesko. Maybe they're hoping he picks us over Newcastle and waits for them to sort themselves out. The striker market's becoming slimmer. We'll have to wait and see. Still see Sesko going to Newcastle, but reports indicate he prefers United. Right now, Romano also added that the battle ongoing is between United and Newcastle for Sesko, and he said a reminder that if Sesko tells Leipzig there's a club that he considers special that he considers special to join, there's a gentleman's agreement between them and Man United, between Sesko and Leipzig. Sorry, I'm so tired. I couldn't read today. I'm going to reread this. If Sesko tells Leipzig there's a club that he considers special to join, there's a gentleman's agreement between Leipzig and Sesko to make a price drop to about 70 to 80 million euros, which are looking around 60 million pounds. So if Man United is one of the clubs that Sesko views as special, and by the way the media is talking, there's suggestions that it is, I don't know if Newcastle are, they're willing to drop the price tag to 60 million because Sesko sees it as a special move to help him facilitate his move. They're now competing with Newcastle to get the deal done. And reports saying that Sesko's preference is United, but it's nowhere near as advanced. Benjamin Sesko's camp have suggested his preference is a move to Manchester United. At this stage, Newcastle would be considered more in the driving seat due to financial flexibility, but Man United have caught the interest of Sesko. Right now, we're in a position where Newcastle can do a deal for Sesko tomorrow. Newcastle can get a deal done for Sesko quickly. They're waiting for Sesko to agree personal terms. Maybe Sesko's waiting for Manchester United. Maybe Sesko's using United to get good personal terms out of Newcastle. Maybe Sesko's waiting for Manchester United. He's a big Manchester United fan. We know that. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But apparently Sesko prefers a move to Manchester United, being a big fan, being the fact that we followed him for 3 years. I think Sesko's a good move. I'm happy if we get him, but I'm also not fussed if we don't get him, if I was going to be completely honest. I think he's a young player. I think he could be great, but I worry how will he do in the United environment. I do want to talk about Chelsea and a couple other stories as well now in regards to the outs. Now, the first story I am looking at. But actually, before we get into what I was about to talk about, quick break, quick cut. Another story has come out in regards to Benjamin Sesko, and it has been said that Sesko, and this is from Florian Plettenberg, who broke the news today that United was sort of in talks, is impressed by Manchester United's efforts to sign him, and the club are not giving up on him. But Leipzig are now demanding at least 80 million euros, which is 65 million pounds, which for me is a bit too much for Sesko. Something does tell me maybe Manchester United are being used to get the best bid out of Newcastle for Leipzig for Sesko to see how much money they can get. Another part of me goes, well, Delap's gone, Ekatike's gone, Gyökeres is gone. It kind of makes sense that we're all in for Sesko now. But yes, I want to get into the outs, people. I like Sesko. I think Sesko's a good signing. Sesko for 60 million is good business. But Sesko is raw. It's a risk. And I do think we kind of need proven now. But there is talk of Dortmund considering a move for Sancho. I've said for a while, I think Dortmund will go back in for Sancho at the end of the window if he hasn't got a move. We've told Dortmund he can leave for literally like 15 to 20 million pounds. What are Dortmund going to do? They're going to wait until the end of the window and try and get him on loan. They're not going to bid up for him. And they're not going to pay his wages. But that was interesting. But the thing I wanted to talk about was in regards to Garnacho. And this was from Matt Law. Now, Matt Law is one of the best sources of information when it comes to Chelsea news. And he said the arrival of Simmons at Chelsea will not necessarily close the door on a potential deal for Garnacho. Is interesting thing that he said. So he's saying that even though Chelsea are working to deal for Xavi Simmons, they're still in for Garnacho. I think Chelsea are going to make a late move for Garnacho. I really do think that this deal could happen. I think Garnacho maybe he has had some conversations with them. That's why he's maybe turned down other clubs. The money's there for Chelsea. They're making sales. João Felix, Madueke. I think they know that if they wait till the end of the window, United will get desperate and sell Garnacho for cheaper. Garnacho could be holding out for it. I wouldn't be shocked. And if we don't get Sesko, maybe a deal could involve Nicholas Jackson. But I wanted to talk about Anthony because there's been a lot of reports about Anthony leaving Al Nassr bid, him on his way to Saudi. Romano said it's not as advanced as being reported because Al Nassr have not made a bid, but he did confirm that they are informed about the situation and it's in early stages, but there is interest there. So he's confirmed some interest. But Anthony has options in Europe, he has options at Al Nassr. He wants to make the right decision. Basically, what Anthony wants is Real Betis. And what Real Betis want is Anthony to reject everyone and go to them. But what Anthony's doing is he's getting fed up with Real Betis. He doesn't want to be in a position where he's forced to stay at United because Betis don't bid up and he's rejected other clubs. So he's now considering his options. Maybe that's to put pressure. Maybe that's to put pressure on Real Betis. Who knows? But yes, reports are coming out that United are not giving up on Sesko. The player's obviously impressed by United. Players open to the Manchester United move. But I still think he could go to Newcastle. Hopefully we get some updates on sales. Thank you for watching. Bye.